Hello, hello, and welcome into the Spring 2023 promotion tournament for the LCS Challengers League. I'm Mad Magical, and I'm joined alongside Kangas and Smacks. We have an elimination today, as well as a promotion that we've got. It is a best of 5, and I'm happy to be here alongside both of you. I hope you're just as excited.
Oh, I'm pumped. I've been gone all week. I was back home on vacation, so I'm finally back, and I'm able to hop on the show. We get to watch another team make it into the summer season, and also unfortunately say goodbye to a team, but either way, it's going to be an exciting day.
I've been here all week. I've been watching all these games, and I've been super excited for the qualifier teams, of which we're going to have another one joining NACL after today, which is absolutely astonishing. So I can't wait for it.
And I want to thank the LEC for the host and raid that we have here on the channel. And I feel like it's only appropriate with all the new people that are now watching that we tell everyone what the format is for the tournament.
Welcome to the Spring 2023 LCS Challengers League Promotion Tournament. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Smacks. And we're here to talk you through everything you need to know.
The promotion tournament will feature 8 teams from the North American developmental landscape, the 4 lowest placing NACL provisional teams from Spring, and the 4 teams who earned the most qualification points across the 2 NACL Spring Open qualifiers. These 8 teams will be placed into a modified double elimination bracket. Our first round will have a provisional team matched up against a qualifier team in a best of 3.
Seeding for the 4 provisional teams was based off performance in the NACL playoffs, while the qualifier teams were ranked by total points earned across both open qualifiers. The winners of the first round will play each other in the upper bracket best of 5, with those winners becoming the first 2 teams welcomed into the summer NACL season. The losers of round 1 will be sent down to the lower bracket, where they will play a do or a die best of 3 against another round 1 loser. The winners of this best of 3 will move on to our lower bracket best of 5, where they will face off against the loser of an upper bracket best of 5 to qualify for summer NACL. Those eliminated will have the chance to re-enter the open qualifiers next split to earn the chance to challenge the promotion tournament once again.
So, best of luck to the teams competing, and we'll see you there.
With that, I hope everyone is now caught up on how the format of the tournament is. But, are you confused?
I want to get something in.
Are you confused?
I want to get something in. The fact that Tony Top's face was on the League of Legends LoL esports page as a team icon, I think is the peak of what we've achieved as a community. And I want to say, well done, everybody. We stuck it out, and we got Tony's face as a team logo. It's incredible.
It will remain
until we get
there.
to like the bracket itself, where we can then see him on screen.
Well, we just saw it in the video. I had to address it, you know.
Yeah, but watch this. We're going to go over to the bracket itself, and we can actually see his face there. And you could have mentioned it while he was on screen.
Look at that.
Because here
it's
we go.
Dude's face.
Hey, AoE, Gold, and Team Tony Top, both of them have already qualified for the summer split, and we still have 2 more spots remaining. That is what we're here today to decide summer.
Yeah, we already have 1 qualifier team who made it in. AoE, the returning provisional roster that made it into NACL. They don't have to play against each other quite yet. They will, of course, in the summer split. But they've already qualified. And now Team Fish Taco versus Supernova today. We're going to get another qualifier team already in. That's so crazy to see. But yeah, love the fact that we're getting Tony's face in for the next split again.
It's so funny. So funny. And this, a little misleading. They will not be playing against each other. They just made it through the bracket. But at the bottom here, important to note, Team Fish Taco, they pushed Tony Top to 5 games in the previous series,
yes,
and we will get to see them later today. But also, we had full 5-game series from both of the promotion matches.
Isn't that great? I mean, you gotta love that. The teams that are getting decided in, it is the full 5 games that we have. Maybe we'll have that same sort of luck today, or maybe I just jinxed it. But let's also talk about what happened yesterday, because we did say farewell to a couple of teams. In fact, 2 of the teams that were a part of this spring split, The Last Dance, formerly known as CLG Faith, and FlyFam. Both of them got eliminated by Supernova and by Team Liquid First, respectively. So we did want to say a little bit of a farewell to them before we fully won't see them for the summer split. Of course, they could participate in the qualifiers if they want to make it back into 2024. But Summer, I'll let you take away this one. I believe we actually were going to focus on The Last Dance first.
yeah, we wanted to say goodbye to some of these teams that unfortunately are no longer in this tournament. And what better way to say goodbye than just to hype up some of the players that we believe performed quite well off of these teams? Because while the rosters may not stick together, the players we hope will still remain in the space. And I wanted to start off with the support of The Last Dance. That is Sketch, who I believe has a pretty bright future ahead of him, especially if he does stick around in this support position, because this was, as a reminder, his first true split as a support main, previously playing AD carry on teams like Evil Genius's Prodigies and the like, and I saw a lot of promise in him. I think on a roster that didn't change up the bot lane pairing a bunch of times, because as a reminder, there were a lot of roster swaps here for Counter Logic Gaming Faith and then The Last Dance. I think with a little bit more stability, we can really see Sketch thrive in this new position, and we already saw a lot of really nice map movements from him many games, so.
And I'm glad you talked about, the roster swaps that happened for CLG Faith over the entirety of the spring split, because that does make it really hard to coalesce as a team, to find that synergy, to really
started AD carry. Like, he started bot lane.
And that was not what originally Sketch had been drafted for in the first place. It was originally that he was supposed to be in the supportive role, and they couldn't find an ADC in time, so they had to swap that there, get a sub momentarily for like the first 3 weeks. It really does throw off momentum. But then we have our other team that we said farewell to moving forward. Fly Fam. This team didn't quite have as many roster swaps, but they did have a few, didn't they, Kangas?
Yeah, we unfortunately have to witness the broken family here, as they did get knocked out. There are a few bright stars, though, I wanted to highlight from this roster, specifically the top half of the map. I see Lunacia also put out a twit longer, so make sure to go follow the players on Twitter. You can check out the twit longer of kind of how he viewed his split and performance. But as we take a look at the replay here, I want to hype up some of the plays also from Hyper the Jungler, because this is a guy, we talk about roster swaps. 5am had 3 different junglers throughout the split. Hyper came in and, from my perspective, looked like he clicked best with the team. He had the most direction and was able to execute the best in, high-pressure situations. Moments like this, be willing to go back in, trying to back up your AD carry, but also throughout the regular season when we did see the games very active on the map, a very high-pressure ganking-style jungle, and I feel like this is what the team needed from him. But then Lunacia, the top laner, is where we put a lot of the attention during the regular season, and plays like this are why he's solid in the 1v1s. We know that. Tied with Hoon for most solo kills at the end of the regular season, but also he was getting better at the team fights throughout the split, which is where his biggest weakness was, is knowing when to link up with the team. So I think players like Lunacia, players like Hyper, I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on them going forward.
You've got to give a lot of praise to a player like Lunacia. Hoon has been around for a little bit. We've gotten more tape on Hoon playing over in Korea, then, briefly having a really tumultuous split last year, and then really getting to show up this year. Lunacia was an unknown quantity coming into the split, and yet was tied for the most solo kills if we take M&S out of the equation, because M&S also was absolutely insane. But it was just, it's wild to even think about that, isn't it, Summer?
Yeah, the guy that won LCS has more solo kills. That's crazy. But for Lunacia, I think if there was like a biggest surprise award that were handed out to a player, I think Lunacia probably would be it. Because again, not a lot of tape on this player at all. Didn't have a lot of competitive experience. Just came up from the sub roster of 100 Thieves Next, straight onto a roster. And I think a lot of people weren't really expecting anything from this player, but ended up being one of our top performers in NACL in the top lane. So yeah, really impressive stuff from him. And you mentioned it as well about Hyper coming into this team. I think he really revitalized this roster, brought them a lot more wins than they had before.
Yeah, and it's funny, we can talk about Hyper and the team that actually he had played before joining FlyFam, because that team is playing today up against Team Fish Taco Supernova. Both of these orgs have been around for quite some time throughout the Tier 3 in the semi-pro environment. Like Supernova, I remember going all the way back to when I first started casting back in 2017, that they were an organization back then. They started in 2015. That is so long ago.
Absurd.
Yeah, and just taking a look at this, we added a few other logos here from the teams that many NACL fans will be familiar with that played in the spring split. We got Wildcard, AoE, and Cincinnati Fear. just to stack these other orgs up against them and show just how much of a pervasive pillar both Supernova and Team Fish Taco have been. They've been around for many, many years, Supernova, of course, being the longest, still around, still competitive, and still helping promote the players in our Tier 3 ecosystem. A lot of gratitude from me and many other Tier 3 fans goes towards Supernova and Team Fish Taco, and one of them going to be rewarded with an NACL spot after today.
Yeah, not everyone has been around for the entire history of Tier 3. We have a lot of newer fans coming in and watching, but the upsurges, the big leagues, like those are the types of tournaments that Supernova have just been competing in. They were kind of at the top for a while, but they've been developing players. They've had like 6 players go through their ecosystem to LCS. It's kind of crazy.
And then we look on the other side. Let's focus on Team Fish Tacos to start it all off, because they've got a good mix of old and new faces on the roster.
We got some floating heads.
You got some floating heads, but you got players that everyone's going to recognize, like Alorum and Dardoch. You're going to see those players. You're going to be like, okay, if you've been around for NACL, Robbie Bob might stand out because he was the sub for Evil Geniuses Challengers at the beginning of the split. Then Red and Daption are players that are fairly new. Daption has been around a little bit, but Red is really one of those unknown players, at least before last year.
This is my first time seeing his face. That is a Chad smile right there. Wow.
Yeah, it looks nice. And
yeah.
Go ahead, Kangas.
I was going to say, as we take a look at some of the clips, I was catching up on Team Fish Taco because going into the event, this is one of the teams that I didn't know as much about the bottom half of the map, but I have been impressed with what they've done. Obviously, you're going to see names like Alorum and Dardoch and think, oh, they're the primary win conditions, but yeah, I'm happy you highlighted Red. This guy's had some breakout performances so far, and Robbie Bob, Daption have been setting him up to find success as well. So I think that this is definitely the surprise for me, and I heard a lot of other people talking about it throughout the week on the broadcast. We didn't know to have this expectation for Red, but it's cool to see them find the plays as just the 3 newer players, but then also when you get everybody together, they're able to do things like this. This team's really coming together, not necessarily how we expected. Sometimes you think, oh, it's just going to be Dardoch primary carry, Alorum playing tanks and backing him up, but no, like, everyone's doing their job.
It's the younger side of the map that is doing well for Team Fish Taco, which has been very impressive, and that's why we wanted to highlight them. But they're going up against a very young organization in terms of players. When you look at Supernova, you have players like Gizno, very new to the scene. Onat, another really new face that we get to see here on the Rift Summer.
Yeah, some experience there as well. Dragoon has been bouncing around a few different teams for the past few years, and Azog and Chookies as well. Chookies specifically the collegiate champion support right now. But yeah, as you said, a lot of rather inexperienced players on this roster as well, and we've seen them. I think it's fair to say, kind of blow our expectations out of the water by winning a series, and that sounds kind of mean, but wow. Supernova was the last seed going into this event, and they just barely made it in by points from the qualifiers, but their series against Last Dance did show a lot of promise. We pulled a few of the clips from that as well. We got a nice classic Dragoon smash out of the equation here. Absolutely love seeing Dragoon on the champions that we've known him to be so skilled at throughout the years. The Darius, things like the Alawi as well. And I've just been so impressed by the way that they've adapted to this tournament. Yeah, like I said, I'll be the first to say it. I didn't think that they were going to win a series here, and they've surpassed that expectation for sure.
Hey, I also want to give Supernova some major shout-outs. That series against AoE, they were actually doing very good in the early game. Yeah. They were taking it to toe to a team that would end up qualifying right away. So they actually are showing a lot of promise here in this promotion tournament, and that's something that's been so great to see from these players. In fact, we got to hear a little bit from Onat on not only what he thinks the team has been bringing to the table, but what they think of the match going up against Team Fish Taco.
A lot of flashy mid-jungle stuff, winning 2v2s, moving bot, choking them out. Azog and Chookies going crazy, and then Dragoon pulling out random ass picks, win blind. I mean, just a lot of flashy stuff, I think, from, like, you know, new, inexperienced mid-jungle, just going crazy on people. Robbie Bob should keep running some 1v1s and warm up, because we're coming pretty hard. They've always beaten us in officials, but we still feel like we have a good chance against them because of our scrims and, you know, just how we stack up against their individual players. So we think it always comes really close, and we just need to make that extra push mid-late game to get the win, and we think it's really possible. So we're coming in with, you know, an urge to get a little bit of revenge because they beat us last time. So I'm looking forward to that.
I do like the shout out of coming from Robbie Bob. I'm going to go for his head. You know, is a new player who definitely would like to take it to toe, especially when we look at this mid lane, because this mid lane is going to be really exciting. Two newer junglers, two newer mid laners when you look at Robbie Bob and Onat, but both of them with very different styles, right, Smacks?
We have, very different styles in the mid lane. A lot of the qualifier mid laners specifically have been playing the scale-heavy champions. At least they have been leading up to this event. Things like the Aurelion Sol when that was really meta. Veigar as well, the Azir, the Victor, this style. And Onat completely flips the script. He goes for the skirmishers like the Ahri that we saw just yesterday as well. And I've been very pleasantly surprised by Onat, and I hope that he's able to sync up with the jungler, because that style really does require Kisno to be fully on point with those skirmishes, 2v2s and everything.
Onat was calling it out right there, saying, you know what? You got to respect the young mid-jungle duo and how they've really been coming together as a squad. So, Steve, before we dive into Champion Select, what are your last thoughts?
Last thoughts. I think that stylistically mid lane is where a lot of the action will happen for Kisno, or rather Onat's side and Kisno. But Robbie Bob plays a very defensive style mid lane. Maybe he can absorb it. I'm excited to see the rookies show up, but I am still favoring Team Fish Taco pretty heavily in this match.
Are you same? Really quick?
Yeah, I am.
All
I
right.
think Team Fish Taco is probably going to win.
You know what? Well, I've got Supernova. Let's go. Underdogs all the way. You two take it away for our first game draft.
No way! Summer, would you have ever guessed that Magical would have the surprising prediction on a desk?
Absolutely not. Mad Magical always takes the safe route to his analytics, so this is a very big departure, of course, being a bit facetious with that one. Into the draft, we talked a bit about how Team Fish Taco is pretty favored in this matchup. I think it's probably fair to talk a bit more about why that is.
Yeah.
Team Fish Taco, very cohesive throughout this entire week, which is not something that we've seen too much of them before. I think it's fair to say that with the roster swap, specifically Red wasn't looking as coordinated in that bottom lane pair as he was with Winter, as they did have more reps there, but he and Daption have really figured things out throughout this entire weekend, and I'm really looking at them to have a big impact in this series for sure.
And that was partly why we highlighted that before. We saw lanes where they were falling behind, but they would come back. Red shows up huge in these team fights, which is oftentimes where you want your AD carry to have their best performances, because oftentimes that can make or break games. So let's see what the approach is for Supernova with that in mind. They're banning away junglers and then Victor as well with a Wukong for their blue 1 pink.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well, the Supernova is on blue, so it will be slightly more difficult for Dragoon to get a counter pickup in that top lane, making it slightly less safe for him to go for things like that Darius and like that Alawi, and I'm expecting Alorum to want to have that counter pickup in the top lane as well. He's got a very vast and interesting champion pool that we've seen him bust out many, many times before. Aphelios and Thresh will be the safe bot lane duo that does have that scaling that you mentioned, where Red will be able to have these explosive team fights, but might struggle in this lane now against Zyra Khan.
Yeah, and Daption does the version of Thresh gameplay that I like to play in my games, where it's just the magnet. Yeah? It's not necessarily about hitting the hooks magnetized to them, but it's about magnetizing yourself so they all engage on you, and then your team can clean up afterwards. And Robbie Bob on the Annie, this is something that he pilots incredibly well, the setup tools for the mid laner for Team Fish Taco.
Strong team fight engage so far, strong pick tools as well, things like the purple gun, the gravitum, the Annie engage, that will end up setting Daption up for success with those death sentences. So perhaps he will be more magnetized to the enemies if they do land those engages. Getting into the second phase, I'm expecting a lot of these top side bans to come through. That Olaf probably going to be followed up by a Darius, so that Dragoon doesn't have that extra lane power up there.
And for anybody newer to the stream, if you're just tuning in, not aware of the tier 3 players coming up here, Dragoon, notable for being a carry top laner. He plays things like the Darius that many other top laners will not play. Although, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure Alorum has played Darius in Academy in the past.
Probably.
I'm actually pretty positive I've casted an Alorum Darius game. So that could make this even more exciting. But usually we think of Alorum more as like a role player for the team. Whatever they need for that draft is what he'll lock in.
All right, well, trying to cut down on a few of the options from mid lane here. Ari already taken off the board, now Orianna as well. Onat will have to go deeper into his bag there, but perhaps this does leave Supernova with a powerful top lane, as long as they're okay blinding it. Because again, Team Fish Taco is definitely going to pick their jungler here for Dardoch and save that surprise factor for Lorem, making sure that Dragoon can't pop off, but it won't be Urgot as that one gets taken off the board.
Yeah, and that's one of those fun other kind of pocket picks that Alorum's rocking. So Supernova have done some of their research. Now, if we're expecting a jungler for Team Fish Taco, I'm wondering what fits the bill for what the team needs right now. They have some AP damage. They have good setup, so they don't necessarily need a jungler that can engage. They can go for a carry jungler. Dardoch loves them. They're giving him Viego.
I'm pretty okay with that one too. They already have those pick tools that I mentioned, and Viego really appreciates having pick tools to start off a fight and make sure that he's not some sort of primary engage. That's not where Viego wants to be. He wants to be picking people off and getting all of those resets to make the team fight progress past that. And Dardoch picking that one up not only does benefit this team comp, but also denies a champion from Kiss. No, he's not gonna do anything though. He's gonna play the Wukong. I forgot about that. But yeah, it is one of Kissno's champions too. So just a little lore thing there, I guess.
Okay, so we're getting carries in the mid lane hovered for right now with the Gwen locked in and then the Yone, but now potential Cassante, which then means would it be the Cassante into the Annie most likely with then Gwen blind picked. Oh, last minute change to Syndra. Okay, so it is going to be Gwen top lane. That is what Alorum's picking into.
Yeah, I think they were probably considering like, is Gwen okay for you, Onat? Like, can we flex this around if we get a bad matchup? Probably not. Let's just go for the Syndra and try to stop the Annie from getting too crazy ahead early game, because Syndra does have a lot of that burst as well. And Pantheon will be the pick into the Gwen. I mean, I told you, we got some counter picks coming up there.
Okay. So, this is a carry versus carry top lane matchup. I play a lot of Pantheon support. Very different than Pantheon top, because I was watching some of MU's games, and when Niles had this champion, he was like, not even a full charge, like 5-stack Q, half health in a 80 carry Lucian once he had 2 items. Like, Pantheon's actually kind of crazy right now if you're able to get ahead. He still has the same issue of, like, if he falls behind, he's way less useful, but the things you can do on the map with this champ are crazy.
Yeah, and the idea here with the Pantheon is, firstly, Pantheon really likes taking Ignite in that top lane because it, makes his burst damage even more bursty. You get to have that extra little bump. It also denies the healing out of Gwen, but also this is a champion that doesn't really care too much about the Hollowed Mist. You're going to be inside that immune circle anyway with all your spells. So Alorem trying to make sure that Dragoon has to play very safe in this top lane, which is not something that we like to see out of Dragoon. We like to see Dragoon popping off, but that's just a quality that blue side draft will give you sometimes.
Well, we went into this one highlighting mid lane, but it's the top laners that are stepping up to the plate to give us some entertainment in this game. Number 1 winner of the series makes it into the NACL Summer Split. The LCS Challengers League holds a lot of esteem for a lot of these teams. Loser is going home. We'll have to play through another split of qualifiers.
Yeah, full best of 5 here as well. The elusive best of 5. We don't really get too many of those over in the qualifiers. It's really just the playoffs. And if you go through the entirety of the playoffs, then you get to play 3 of them in each of the qualifiers. But these teams didn't actually do that all that often. It was kind of Maryville that ran the table. So I'm pretty sure that both of these teams played around 3 or 4 total best of 5s the entire year long up until this point. This would be Supernova's first one of this tournament. Team Fish Taco's second, though. They did unfortunately lose in that game 5 against Team Tony Top. And they're losing the poll, too. Wow.
And for players like Alorem, Dardoch, even Robbie Bob to an extent, yeah, they have best of 5 experience, but there's a lot of players that are early in their careers that this might be one of their first opportunities as we get in. Yeah, Supernova have a slightly skewed vote right now in chat. Let us know what you think by spamming Taco or SN. But as we're into the laning phase, minions are hitting the wave smacks. I want to take some time to set expectations for where these junglers could look, because I see a lot of different lanes with a lot of setup for ganks.
It looks like they're both starting on this top side. Both of them not really known for full clearing. These champions, I should say. specifically Wukong. So we'll probably see some early action there. I would really be sad if we saw just a full clear from Kisno in this game, but he did start with the blue buff, so not having the red buff power spike of getting into those ganks and applying that slow so continuously may mean that he's going to have to wait until level 3, maybe even level 4 to start doing anything. But for Dardoch, he's really trying to play around this bottom lane timer when red hits purple gun. He needs to cycle through those at a specific timer where Dardoch can arrive and make those ganks really, really easy. You just point-click auto with Aphelios and then drop the snare.
Yeah, and you have the Thresh to follow up. Easy setup. Dardoch will be spotted in the top tribe bush, so let's see if Taco have a similar read. He's going to look for a slight invade. Kisno actually doubles back here because of that. Junglers might just meet up around the mid lane. I don't know what Kisno's plan is. Maybe he thinks that there's a dive top lane. I mean, there's a stacked wave, but no, Dardoch's instead mid.
I think Kisno's getting slightly dizzy by that right now.
Yeah.
Just being really cautious of that top side, not wanting Alorum and Dardoch to fully burst Hunter to 0 down his top laner. But now Kisno has just spent about 30 seconds not hitting a single camp. Gonna be pretty far behind as far as that, because I mean, Dardoch, he didn't really do anything too spectacular in that mid lane, but he did impact it to the point where Robbie Bob is going to feel a little bit safer there. So it's not like Dardoch wasn't doing anything.
Those are those experience gap type of situations.
Yeah.
Dardoch's been playing for years in League of Legends. Kisno relatively new to the scene. Ooh, this sentence barely misses. But there is a massive experience gap in this jungle matchup, which I think is cool to highlight, because for a player like Kisno, you get to go up against Dardoch in an elimination match. Like, that's pretty hype.
Yeah, I think honestly, from all of the Riot Games official broadcasts, I'm pretty sure this jungle matchup is the largest experience gap that we have had all year long. So that's pretty insane. Dardoch been playing for many, many years in Kisno. This is his very first split as a player, just previously playing on CB Gaming before getting picked up by Supernova on this roster. So this is his first big break, and will need to, step up to the plate against a very, very highly veteran player in Dardoch for sure.
Yeah. And obviously we've talked about Taco. Oh, well, we might actually see some action bot lane. Kisno is nearby. Nice double root. Daption lands the hook and gets red to safety. So Azog actually takes the brunt of that damage. But while we are favoring Taco to win this one, I do think it's important to highlight the fact that this would be massive for the players for Supernova. If you pick up a win like this on the org that you're on, it's a long history of developing players, getting them up to that next level, and you would have gotten yourselves up to that next level with this best of 5.
Yeah, it does mean so much to both of these orgs, you have to imagine, as they have been around for so long, and they're now just one step away, one best of 5 away from breaking into that tier 2 space, that NACL space that is so illustrious, and where we have a few of the other teams that were competing for those spots did get invited in, where you have the Wild Cards, the Cincinnati Fears, the AoEs of the world. Supernova and Team Fish Taco were definitely right there underneath them on that list, you have to imagine. So they can really taste that and see it at the light at the end of the tunnel, but they have each other in the way. They can't both make it.
And let's catch up on a little bit of the game state currently. It's been a relatively slow early game, only 5.5 minutes on the clock, no kills either way. We do see, as the resets come through, Alorum with triple longsword and a slight CS lead over Dragoon by the time they're hitting the wave again. So Dragoon will have less gold spent. Triky's back on the map, though. With boots purchased, could look for a roam here. Let's see how hard Supernova want to commit. Oh, there's the stun.
Lands.
Follow up with the knock-up. Follow-up stun from Robbie Bob. Perfectly timed, so Triky's is stuck in place, takes 2 turret shots, and the play is off for Supernova.
Dardoch did spot Kisno in that brush with a sweeper too, so knows not to engage past that. It was an outnumbered fight, just trying to move for some positioning in this river now, because Onat, even though they did get that push in, it's not really a great time for him to recall. He had just done that, and even though he does a teleport, you don't really need to force that out right now. So sticking around, and Dardoch, he's still antsy for a play to happen. Red has the purple gun. This could be a possibility.
And the wave was shoving in, but Azog and Chookies decide to not walk up with the wave. Good decision. As they also had just seen Dardoch clearing out the control ward in the Pixel Brush, so there should be a good amount of information now they see the Dragon also started up. Let's see if Supernova want to respond. As Onet actually looks to take a slight 1v1 against Robbie Bob. Throws out the Unleashed Power just to chunk out the Annie.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Making sure that Robbie Bob has no possible way to enter that Drake fight. As I think that Dardoch did spot out that ward. I think he did know that he was spotted taking that objective, and Gissno's still around, Onat's still around. It's really risky to go for, so just going to try a different play. Forcing the teleport out of Robbie Bob as well, so I won't have that one if he does get chunked out again by the next Unleashed Power.
And I like these kinds of plays as well. Get a ward over the wall, even take away the blast cone. It's a great tool for Viego to get over that and look for their own ganks bot side. So just keeping bots safe. Junglers have been hanging around here for quite a while. This one has a buff up that he could go for, but instead just walking forward. I don't think Supernova's getting a lot for this. Like, Taco are pretty comfortable too.
Yeah, I do want to point out that Alorum does have the Ignite against Dragoon. They did trade Summoner spells earlier while we were looking bottom lane. He does have a window right now where he has Ignite up and Dragoon doesn't have Ghost. And that's important for this Drake fight because Alorum has Grand Starfall. He can actually get to that fight without the teleport needed. He doesn't even have it to begin with. So if he does manage to find a favorable state, he does stun the minion, unfortunately. That's not how you do that. Would be able to access the fight. Yeah.
But still, I mean, you see how well Pantheon is able to trade against the Gwen. Good on Dragoon to catch up in some of that CS. I was concerned after the first back that Dragoon would continue to fall behind, but actually is a wave up after this next reset. Herald started by Dardoch. Grand Starfall could be huge here if Taco want to stop Supernova from contesting, as Robbie Bob also trades ult against Onet.
Yeah, basically the same play that we saw Onet go for. This one specifically for the Rift Herald that Dardoch has now decided he wants instead of the Dragon, which is still available, but there's a Pantheon more closer vicinity up there on the top side of the map. So the first objective of the game going over to Dardoch and Team Fish Taco. Still not a lot of action as far as these lanes are concerned, but that's not too surprising for Team Fish Taco. They have been a team that's focused a lot on the late game, despite what this team comp that they've put together would otherwise explain to us here.
And a tool like Herald from a team like Team Fish Taco can actually get them a lot. We've seen them turn these little objectives into big objectives. Turrets start to fall. They get establishment over the next dragons. They haven't looked for a hard play on this one yet. Let's see if they want to, or if they want to continue playing around Lorem, because if Lorem's able to win this 1v1, huge for them. But speaking of, Dragoon's actually taken it. Does not have ultimate available, though. If you did, you assume that's probably going to be a kill.
Dragoon actually playing around the spear pokes quite nicely there. I believe did dodge one with the Hollowed Mist. Very difficult to do against the Pantheon, as like we said before, the melee champion typically has an easier time landing that than something like a Kennen would. But still, Dragoon managing it and managing to dodge the Qs even without the W up. So that's quite nice. Lorem hasn't been able to find a window to use that Grand Starfall, and perhaps that is why Supernova was able to take this Drake so easily.
Yeah, they probably read that since Lorem was trading so heavily, Dardoch was most likely topside anyway. Maybe they had a ward, I didn't notice, but either way, that is Dragon. The Supernova starting the stacking earlier than Team Fish Taco will be able to. And they haven't dropped the Herald yet. We haven't seen a clear lane that Dardoch is looking to drop this. If you're getting in Dardoch's head, mind of a jungler who's been playing for quite a while, where do you think he's going to be looking for this?
I mean, you really do have that late game carry, like, single option of red as the trade happening here. No ultimates popped quite yet. Wanting the engage follow-up, but as you're asking, Dardoch definitely wants to give this gold over to the Aphelios. Even though Pantheon is more of that carry champion as far as the top lane is concerned, your late game insurance is in Red's hands. And as this game has been pretty slow, I think it is important for us to actually start talking about who actually is going to win the scaling war. I think it's probably Supernova in this game.
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, Aphelios is terrifying. Viego resets in late game team fights are also terrifying, but I just don't see anybody who's going to match the Gwen in a late game side lane situation, and Syndra execute also. There's no, like, giant tanks, so unless Pantheon's able to shield that or something, like, you're actually going to be blowing people up pretty quickly.
It doesn't take much to kill Viego when he's not the one initiating. So if Dardoch does find himself caught out by something like a Grand Entrance, something like a Scout of the Week, then those late game fights are not going to be very good for Team Fish Taco. We're getting, a little bit into the future here as we're only 11 minutes into this one, but it's been pretty slow. So
yeah, when a team doesn't give you any kills by 11 and a half. This is what we're left with. Interesting thing there is Supernova looked for a potential play mid, was spotted on a ward that they did not see. There's now a 1v1 top lane, Alorm and Dragoon still going for it. That's Conqueror stacked up, but Wave will crash. So still no early kills either way.
Plated Steel Cap's got to be so OP or what? Like, Alorm is just not winning these trades at all. Dragoon getting the better end of this matchup that he picked blind into, and Alorm did expend the draft 5th pick on red side to get this matchup for us. So a lot of props to Dragoon, who again is in one of those sort of experienced mismatched lanes. Not quite to the extent of jungle here, as Dragoon has quite a bit of competitive experience, but Alorm obviously one of our most veteran players here.
Wanted to highlight that Dardoch had about 5 seconds left of Herald and was bot side, then walked away, and I was like, there's no way he forgets. Does drop it mid lane. So it's not going to be the gold funneled into red, as you had predicted. I would have liked to see that. It's instead just, some plate gold over to Robbie Bob and some damage in the mid lane. But we have a scrap bot lane. Azog going forward. One more auto. First blood.
Wow, Azog, okay, all they needed was the supports to just go do something else, and then we actually get some action in the bottom lane. Flash, the Gale Force, all the extra damage from the feathers here. He actually didn't even have E available. That's what signaled Red to go in for this trade, but ends up not trying to kite back with the autos at all. Quickly realizes, oh, this is not the play that I wanted. Gale Force trade favors Azog there.
Sometimes you forget that the Xayah ult is also damage. It's not just defense. It does a decent chunk in a 1v1 as well. Red was not prepared for that. Very new player to the league. These are those learning moments. You're going to be looking back in the series thinking, ooh, if only I had done that one different.
And as the, as the support player here, Daption, I gotta get into the mind of my role here. You look at bottom lane as Daption, you're like, come on, man, I leave for 1 second. Come on, don't go for any of these plays without me. We have the follow-up, but it's okay. I'm sure they'll be able to coordinate later. They've done a great job coordinating as a duo in this tournament. I know I talked about it before the game actually started, but it is really astonishing because I'll be the first to say the games leading up to this event not very promising from this duo at all, especially in their quarterfinal match that they did end up losing. I was really worried about the outlook of this squad going into promotion relegation, but they have managed to make it work for themselves.
And the bot lane here, again, for Team Fish Taco, I don't want to hit any panic buttons. We've seen them fall behind, and then Red will come back later on. But I want to hype up Azog for getting that type of play as well.
True.
Because as an AD carry in an elimination match, nothing's going to be better for your confidence going forward than I just soloed the competition. But now we have a 2v1 in the top lane. Dragoon pops the ultimate, looking for the needlework. Can't get onto Alorm. Dardoch locks him down. This should be a kill. A lot of damage traded back, but in the end, Dardoch gets the kill credit.
Dardoch getting into that lane, 15 minutes into this game. Maybe some would say it's a little too late, but just on time, is my opinion, is in the bottom lane. Whoa, 2v2.
Yeah, fighting in the wave. Bold move, but they're doing it. Daption taking a lot of damage. Azog dodges out on the Moonfall, so Red cannot get that damage in, and Kisno gets a second dragon. Do they go for a dive? I like this look.
I think so.
You have Wukong ultimate coming up. They have the blast cone. Red, you're in trouble. You got red-white. That is threatening for Supernova to look at, and while this is a threatened dive, we actually do see the Herald taken by Dardoch, so getting some more on the top half, and they don't go for it. Nope, trigger pull.
Ooh, wait, look at this jungle. Oh, wait, Robbie has the stasis there.
Pretty close.
This is what I wanted to look at.
Starfall. Kisno sticks around for quite a while. We'll trade his life for the support, and actually might even just get out of this one.
The wave's
surely no. They have a wave. He actually can get away. Alorm over the wall. Flash with the W stun and the burst damage of a Pantheon.
Flash is there. Oh no, Robbie Bob, you're on vision. I think he's dead. The first strike
kill.
damage.
Nice.
Yeah. And the Leandries as well. Onat
true.
finding all of these 1v1s against Robbie Bob. This one actually leading into a solo kill in that mid lane. Supernova, I mean, it took us a bit, Kangas, but we eventually found the skirmishes. We eventually found the plays to be made. And as I was trying to get at before we saw some fireworks in the mid lane, that ward was never actually spotted by Kisno, so he was not aware that Red and Daption backed away when they saw him and actually re-engaged once they saw that he was backing away. So getting into that brush with the Hex Flash, very sneaky maneuver there from Daption, leads to the kill onto the enemy team's jungler. And looks like that Rift Herald was eventually, the second Rift Herald I should say, was used to follow up on the first's work and get that first turret in the mid lane there for Team Fish Taco.
And that's what you get for, rather than giving the gold over to the Aphelios with the first Herald and trying to funnel the AD carry, you open up the map more. Having the mid lane turret taken down means that if you shove that wave, you have way more entrance points into the jungle, you have more vision to see where your opponent's walking around, so it can open up a lot more plays for a team like Team Fish Taco. But bot turret was claimed first, I believe, as Supernova have also gotten that one down there. So gold very close right now.
Yeah, Supernova got pretty busy while we were watching that replay. It looks like both top and bot lane turret were taken down in that time, and Dragoon did not account for all these people
works
here.
up, stunned by Dardog. Teleport coming in. Supernova are ready for the play. Dardog gets to safety through the lantern, ults over the wall. How far do Supernova want to go for this? Robbie Bob with the flash, stun onto 3. Is it enough to turn the play? Starfall comes in, Alarm's looking for the damage onto Onat. Pretty crazy fight, nobody's on red though. The Aphelios is actually pumping out damage here in the lane, and Team Fish Taco claim the play.
They took that skirmish without a single Viego reset as well. Dardock super chunked out of that one by Onat, but Team Fish Taco still able to pick up a couple crucial kills. One of those onto Dragoon, who at the beginning of this one just, again, did not account for just how many members of Team Fish Taco were committing to this play. They did have some safety of the support roaming up, and the teleport was available, but Team Fish Taco a little bit faster on this play, and then this re-engage that was Robbie Bob onto so many people makes sure that the rest of the skirmish is able to be followed up. And again, this is without Dardock's resets. Just imagine what these fights are going to look like for Team Fish Taco if Dardock is able to pop off.
That was so well played by Robbie Bob. Stunned 4 people, survives through it, even baits Dragoon to come back closer to Red, so Red doesn't have to blow flash to get the kill credit. Whew! Nicely done. And what could have been a big moment for Supernova, who are now back onto the map here, trying to push the mid wave, correct their side waves, but they are falling into a bit of a gold sink here, and let's take a look at the total gold on the Rift so far. Red currently leading the charge.
That's that late game insurance that I was talking about. They might not have given him those Rift Heralds in the early game for the extra plates, but they did allow him to pick up all of that gold from both of the turrets that they took in that top side skirmish. So it wasn't just those 2 kills. The turrets were actually worth even more for this team, for Team Fish Taco. They're now up just a little bit under 3K in terms of the gold, and Red is very close to what I believe is going to be a Bloodthirster for him. So 2 items on that Aphelios. I mean, that late game that we mentioned is potentially being stronger for Supernova. Well, we're going to have to get through Red first.
And that is where Red has been shining. Get this guy a late game team fight, and he will get you a victory screen. Can he do it again here against Supernova? Right now, again, Supernova pushing the mid wave. We got a little bit of a NARAM going on as Dragon is spawning here in 10 seconds, so this establishes them that vision control. They get the shove first, and now it's going to be Taco walking into a relatively dark jungle.
Lorem actually took some time to pressure the topside inhibitor at the same time, so Supernova is losing things right now, but they do want to secure that soul point for themselves, make sure they do have some late game online. Robbie's got a stun charged up though, Kangas, and we saw what happened last time. Supernova has to be super careful around this Annie.
Lauren's also going to go for the Pantheon ultimate. You can just kind of go for a flank that the enemy team's not expecting. They're going for the play right now. Kisno tries to re-engage, but Robbie with a stun. Dragoon jumping onto the back line. They actually took down Alorum. This is looking good for Supernova. Red has to run from the fight, cannot get any damage out, and Supernova just found something crazy right there. 3 for 0.
Dragoon was able to put such a pause on that engage from Team Fish Taco. I can't wait to watch that one again because we need to see what Dragoon was able to accomplish. Just such a sneaky little Gwen getting into that backline just past the Tibbers, just past the explosion. Robbie Bob seems to have had his priorities set on the wrong targets because, I mean, Dragoon, his scoreline's not quite so flashy, but he was able to make this fight his own as we get to see this flank from him popping over the wall. And yeah, look at Robbie where his eyes are onto Daption. Dragoon right on the side of it, and all of a sudden, Red can't hit a single person. This guy that we were hyping up as being the team fight menace that Supernova had to watch out for. He's running for the hills. He's running up the river because Dragoon, he can't hit Dragoon. He's immune.
You're walking down one line with a Pantheon ulting in. You got your Viego going forward looking for the resets. Everyone's trying to play main character, and you forget that, hey, Dragoon was there on the flank, and there's nobody to mark the Gwen walking forward. And that means that that's a third dragon to Supernova. There's still a gold lead to Team Fish Taco. They're not by any stretch out of this game yet. But those types of plays are really positive signs of hope for Supernova as they are coming in a little bit underdogged. I know it's 8th versus 7th seed, but we were heavily favoring Team Fish Taco coming into the day.
And I do want to talk about one more thing from that last team fight, if you'll allow me. Chucky's, I mean, he's playing this Rakan. That team fight is the stuff that you dream about as a Rakan player. That looked so fun. Just bouncing around everybody, charming everyone in sight. Whenever you have those backline divers that you're able to battle dance off of, oh, that is just, it's just so fun. I love Rakan so much. And I'm sure Chucky's having a great time. He is, of course, the defending CLL champion from University of St. Thomas, facing off against the other defending CLL champion that we have in this tournament, Robbie Bob. A lot of members of University of St. Thomas on the Rift today, both past and present. And I always love talking about the collegiate members when we talk about the qualifiers, because boy, oh boy, are there a lot of them. I mean, Maryville's still in this tournament. That's just a full school team.
I love some collegiate success stories from players. Back to life, Supernova are setting up vision around the Baron. You mentioned Chucky's had a great fight before, and I think that is likely to happen again. Look at the engage tools from Supernova's draft. This is something we didn't necessarily put a big pressure on, but actually we can just watch it. They just engage. This is what they do. You have a Wukong, you have a Rakan, you can just pull the trigger and catch people out of position. That is something that outside of an Annie ult stun, Team Fish Taco can't really answer.
Red took that personally there. He's really sad that his support dropped, but didn't quite find the return damage, and now Baron on the table. Yes, it's spotted out by Team Fish Taco, but can they make this re-engage work? Robbie doesn't have Tibbers right now.
Ooh, Robbie just commits the stun onto Chucky's. There's no follow-up damage, though. Supernova need to be careful. Viego resets are terrifying, but they just pull the trigger. They say, we're going in. That's the engage from Chucky's. Red's getting a lot of damage back. He trades one, but he falls as Azog finds the enemy 80 carry. Resets from Dardoch. This could be the play. Robbie Bob will fall in the side here, but what can Dardoch do? Gets another, but still goes down. Oh, now with a kill credit.
I think Dardoch just saved the game right there by actually picking up all of those resets. Like I said, we have to be so careful to watch out for Dardoch, as he is the reset champion. He can make these fights difficult, but let's look at Chucky's engage one more time directly onto both of these members. Pushes Red outside of the fight again. Supernova have clearly found what target they want to focus. It's just that there's another target that's a little bit more sneaky as Dardoch. Look at all this burst he's able to apply onto Azog there. I mean, that's just filthy. Supernova, you got to be more careful of the dual carry threat onto this team now that Dardoch is more online.
And now he's got the Hex Drinker as well. Dardoch is a problem. And this is something that we've seen Team Fish Taco rely on in the past. We were hyping up the newer players like Red, Damsh, and Robbie Bob coming into the day. But hey, if that plan fails, or if you're struggling to execute in that plan, Dardoch on the carry is a tried and true classic, as he will now look to contest here on the Scuttle Crab. It is secured by Kisno and Supernova. 30 seconds till Dragon. This is Soul.
Ton of experience on that one player in the jungle for Team Fish Taco. They're going to want to rely on him in this next coming fight if they want to deny the soul from Supernova. make sure that they don't have to deal with that huge boost of damage.
Ooh,
but
big engage. Alarm's alone. They might have isolated the top lane, or they get him. Massive timing for Supernova to find that pick. Alorm was trying to push mid-wave, something very standard for solo laners to do, but can Taco salvage something? They had the death brush, and they don't find Chucky, so Supernova have another 5v4 to big objectives. How do they keep finding these? Oh, they're going.
Robbie doesn't have flash here. His engage threat is much, much slimmer. Daption's going to have to land some sort of hook here, I think, to really pick somebody off and make sure Dardoch can get the reset, but that Drake is burning so fast.
Can Dardoch get into the pit? Dragoon pushes Red back. A lot of damage in onto the Aphelios.
Look at
They're locking down Dardoch. That's Dragon secured. That's Soul for Supernova, and now Team Fish Taco need to get out of there. Nobody will fall after the objective, but Supernova got exactly what they wanted.
Chuki's understood the assignment. Make sure that Dardoch cannot get into the pit. It's all those years of experience. I can't count how many times we've seen him smite steal those objectives over the years, and you just want to make sure you mitigate all of those options. Just leave him a few screens away. That's what Chuki's did. Kisno freely smites that Drake away, the 4th in a row, and I think Supernova may have just secured themselves a scaling victory into this game. They already have a lot of that power online. I believe Onet has that full passive available, but now there's a Baron that they got to worry about.
Team Fish Taco, they're going for the Hail Mary play right now. Daption trying to stall Supernova, but they will make it into the pit. It's secured. So objective over to Team Fish Taco, but how many people will live afterwards? They lose their jungler, lose the mid laner, and 3 will walk out wearing purple. I mean, if you're Team Fish Taco, you didn't have many other plays, at least you get something.
Yeah, that is not too bad for Team Fish Taco. Losing a couple of members there, but taking the objective. Going to lose out on a couple of these turrets, but that is probably going to make sure that they don't lose in the next 3 minutes at least while that buff is available. Got to make sure you don't take a fight here, though. I mean, this is heavily outnumbered.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is it just delays. It doesn't get Team Fish Taco an advantage where, oh, now they're in a favored position. It just slows down Supernova. A lot of damage comes in, though. Is this a moment where Red can pop off? 200 years. We all hear it. Ghost Flash available. He doesn't have the confidence. That was one of those moments that can make or break a game. If Red goes in and has the confidence to flash any of the counter engage, maybe. But nope, Supernova will walk away, breaking the base.
That does go to show just how much Supernova does respect the power of the team fighting from Red. They are heavily outnumbering the members of Team Fish Taco there, but still choosing their fights wisely, choosing to escape, make sure they don't get chakrammed to death. It's also worth mentioning they didn't have any of those ultimates available, but they will for a next fight that comes through. And now with that inhibitor dead, that's probably enough firepower to back up their minions against the supers, or against the Baron buff, I should say, of Team Fish Taco, if they're trying to look for an end right now. But you got to imagine that that Baron buff is going to give Team Fish Taco at least those 90 seconds of respite.
I mean, I was saying that it wasn't going to get them too much earlier. I think I spoke too soon. Team Fish Taco are actually doing a really good job right now, denying vision in the bot jungle so they can walk up this wave and take a turret of their own. So trying to get gold. And Supernova are a little split right now. They got people trying to catch Robbie Bob in a side lane instead of trying to defend right now. Robbie Bob is playing very safe here. If they don't get this pick, Team Fish Taco actually could maybe look to push more into the base. As Red is still up here. Yeah, they're sticking around.
Yeah, Supernova's giving a lot of trust to Dragoon's wave clear here, and he's playing Gwen, so I don't really like this idea. I think Supernova is about to lose that inhibitor at the very least. Baron's still up for about 40 seconds.
Yeah, you have to back your Supernova. They can look for the end. Like, Dragoon can't stop this. So I think it's wise that Supernova back off. Maybe they get their own. Oh, we're still going for it. This is kind of crazy. Chukies has engaged. Dragoon and Onat have damage. Team Fish Taco need to respect both. So they do back up. That's a stun onto Red. Uh-oh. A lot of damage. Chukies absorbs the hook. Another inhibitor falls, but they want the play to continue. They just destroyed Action. Red's got a lot of damage back. Oh, this could be a reset. Dardoch, doesn't find it. Dragoon into stasis, finally gets it. Now, can Team Fish Taco push? No, they just lost Baron buff. I think the play's over. Honestly, Azog could maybe look to end the game. The Xayah, stop the back. Azog, go for the game. You have a full wave of minions. Well, let's get the picture on what's happening on the turrets. Azog might just end this one as Kisno's trying to stop the backs. Everyone's trying to stop the backs. The teleport is going in. Onat has joined. No Nexus turrets, but Team Fish Taco make it back in time. So Supernova Oh, can they get out now? Kisno actually kills Alorum. That's huge. That means no flank onto these two carries. Oh, they're frontlining. This is dangerous. Okay, they got out.
Okay, well, I mean, that was wild. There was both teams were able to take an inhibitor, just playing very indecisive. Should we recall? Should we not recall? Should we keep pushing? Should we? What do we do here? And both teams, you can feel the pressure in the air. You can cut it with a knife. Both of these teams know just how much is at stake here in this series, and it's only game 1, Kangas.
This is, I'm already going to say it right now. It might be a little premature, but I'm very excited for the rest of the series. This is going to be a banger. Yeah. This is game 1. Supernova come out the gate with the Dragon control. What we favored as a more scaling composition going into the late game, as long as you can, control the Viego resets, which they've done a fantastic job of doing so far. And Supernova are executing at a level that is incredible to see. I'm super happy that the team is finding this success at this point. This is where you need it. This is the promotion match to make it into LCS Challengers, and you have 40 seconds until Elder Dragon in game 1. You could start this series with a win.
Both of these orgs, all 10 of these players are fighting to get into NACL, and they can see it. They just need to win this one best of 5 series. And I mean, we thought that it was going to be more one-sided than this. We definitely thought that Team Fish Taco had the advantage here, but Supernova, they have this huge lead. They have the Infernal Soul. They might be able to close this game out pretty shortly, but I'm feeling a big team fight explosion is about to happen here, Kangas. I'm feeling like this Elder Dragon is going to be the moment that decides it.
And we've already mentioned the fact that Dragoon wins the side lane against Alorum. They're skirmishing right now. Alorum has to flash away as Onat can almost just one-shot Robbie Bob here if he had committed more damage there. Casually just 10-0, by the way. Can we talk about Onat's performance here as the game's probably about to end? The Herald, or the Dragon, plus the base. Dragoon has to back away, but has done his job. Everyone from Team Fish Taco backed. That is Elder Dragon secured, and oh no, Thardock! Ooh, wait a minute. Okay, now he's definitely going down right there. It will be traded for Dragoon, but Daption and everyone else are in trouble. Robbie Bob will fall. Daption chased down as well. Red picks up 1 in response, but with an Elder Dragon, how much can you expect this guy to do? Well, hey, maybe a little bit more, as he actually does take down Kisno. Alorum jumps in, buys more space for Red to back up Red.
Only Red.
How big of a hero can you be right here, right now? Onat goes in. Onat into stasis. Red goes down. Oh, slivers of health bars for the carries of Supernova, but they pull it out and will take game 1.
Oh, it was a photo finish by the end on those health bars here for the members of Supernova. But they take the lead in this series, Kangas, again, surpassing my expectations, surpassing a lot of people's expectations. They've now won the first game of this series, only 2 more wins, and they're in NACL.
Already starting off with maybe a flipped script from expectations going into it. We're going to send it to a short break while the teams rest and recuperate and get ready for game number 2. After that, we'll have our Rally Cry halftime show. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.